What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Rivian. Over the last 48 hours, things have been crazy for the stock. I want to break it down on what's been really causing all of this volatility and how I can tell Rivian is doing something right. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So on Friday, it went up 12.1%, 1673 the low, 1960 the high. And so on Thursday, they did have their big announcement causing it to go from 17 to like 15 and change. I actually did my very first Rivian video for this YouTube channel, roughly around here, the very low 16s. On which I said, I kind of went over some of the recent updates, but I did say that it was a very good risk versus reward. And of course, it wasn't up until analysts decided to give some bullish ratings, then Wall Street's like, yeah, you're right, that is a good opportunity. So we did get some new ratings. So we had a 16, 16, 12, which is a sell, Morgan Stanley. But then again, I think Morgan Stanley has been giving a lot of bearish ratings to all EVs. So I think they did even hit up Lucid recently. But so I think they're just kind of doing their own thing. But we did have a $23 buy from Needham Chris, who has a 41% success rating. So as a consensus, 1482 is that price target, which does represent a 19.54% downside. I think some of that also does represent just the kind of crap that EVs in general have been kind of going through lately. But with Rivian's most recent news, you can kind of tell that they are doing something right. So I have a lot of different YouTube channels, and one of them covers NIO. And NIO has been like, it's a crappy stock. Like, it's a good fundamental business, but the stock price does not always represent exactly what the company is doing because of manipulation. And so, for instance, even here, this came out December the 12th, but there's been numerous smear campaigns that have been caught and exposed. So there's just a lot of crap that does happen to Chinese EVs, which again kind of puts them kind of in a sticky scenario and suppresses the stock price. And it wasn't up until this big announcement from Rivian, that is where a lot of very, very large Tesla accounts on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now, they're hating on Rivian. And so, for instance, I even kind of noticed that you have a lot of other individuals kind of bringing this up, saying that isn't it odd that some of the biggest Tesla accounts on X who would never even consider buying a Rivian are posting nonstop negativity about the Autonomy/AI event? And that is 100% accurate. And I think this could be also said outside of investing or anything. Like, if you get a lot of hate in life, then there is people that are feeling threatened. No different for those of you that watched my last Rivian video where I went over kind of some of the most recent updates. I said that, like, technically Rivian is coming for Tesla. That was very, very clear. And I think even generally it was clear in 2024, early 2024, when they announced their big charging plan for 2030. Right now, Rivian obviously is using Tesla's infrastructure, but that is going to change. And so I think in general, Rivian is building a foundation. It's not going to come overnight. So even with the most recent updates that they did put out this past week, it's not going to happen immediately, but this is going to be building them a base that they can actually come after Tesla. And I think that is very, very clear based on just all the hate that Rivian is getting. So I do believe that Rivian is doing something very, very good. So let me know your general thoughts on that. So again, there's a lot of different moving parts that is happening, but I think generally them doing things in-house will probably hurt their balance sheet in the short term, so a little bit more short-term pain, but for long-term gain. Another stock that I do cover, Lucid, does typically a lot of things in-house, except for their kind of autonomous driving. That's where they're kind of leaning on NVIDIA, but nonetheless, I think there's definitely a lot more advantages to doing things in-house. So definitely Rivian is deserving of a round of applause because over the last 1 year, it is up 29.72%. And then over the last 1 month, it is up 8.35. A lot of volatility, mind you. And I think some of that has to do with just generally shorts and smear campaigns and many things like that. So for instance, going into this upcoming week, 18.54% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 149.4 million shares overall being shorted. And so even on Friday, shorts did return 365,000 shares. That in among itself does really validate that Rivian's green day was justified. DTC though, 3.15 days, so that does really signal that shorts are very overextended. So that does factor in the average volume for Rivian in comparison to number of shares being shorted. Shares on loan being 154.07 million, and then there being about 149 being shorted. That is very, very tight. So I think a lot of stocks that I've covered are being somewhat exposed for naked shorting. Very difficult kind of circumstances to prove, but sometimes when you do see more shares being shorted than on loan, you know something sketchy is happening. So yeah, let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Definitely, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Rivian is a squeeze play at all, but I think just fundamentally, shorts have become very accustomed to kind of sticking to the same stocks. They found a loophole to kind of constantly make money. So every time Rivian in the past has kind of moved higher, they just double down, triple down, cause the stock price to go down and rinse and repeat. This time around with their most recent update, it is clearly getting a lot of institutional attention. So for instance, even on Friday, 69.6, 14.4, 13.4, 5.5, all these big transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000 is all right here. So big money definitely was getting into Rivian, even on the dark pool. So some of the big ones for that was 6.5, 6.4, 4.4. Dark pool is often enough used by shorts as well as hedge funds, but usually a lot of the even numbers right here, that's hedge funds. So this 6.5 most likely was a hedge fund buying into Rivian. So definitely good stuff is coming down the pipeline. So I just wanted to kind of pop on, do a video, go over some of the general data points, but more specifically bring up why I do feel Rivian is doing something very good. And that is just merely based on the level of hate that they are getting. And I've been very transparent about Rivian in the past. I haven't always been the biggest bull. If anything, I actually been leaning a little bit more bearish on Rivian. But with this most recent announcement, yes, it's going to really hurt them financially, at least in the short term. But bigger picture, this is going to be solid. One thing as well, I did actually post it as a short on this YouTube channel, but Rivian had a brief 1-minute chat, a little bit of an interview, and so I clipped it, and ultimately he kind of said that there isn't dilution occurring in the short term. So even though again there might be a little bit more pain in the short term, they have sufficient amount of cash to really get their plan off the ground and really start moving with it. So yeah, I think honestly big things are going to be coming for Rivian. So I think it is potentially time for me to start dollar cost averaging and building up a position with them. So stay tuned for that. I'll kind of go over a lot of those things. But as of Friday though, it was able to successfully get above that 10-day moving average. You did have that crazy sell-off that happened on Thursday. So hats off to those individuals that bought into that unjustified sell-off. But yeah, it's kind of funny how Wall Street sees everything that is happening. But from the market position, you do see a lot more willing buyers, and even the sellers right here, they're kind of scattered. So Rivian can easily continue to move on higher, and with a lot of big data that is coming out this week. So for instance, on Monday we have a couple Fed speakers. Tuesday we have non-farm payroll, ADP weekly. We have also retail sales, unemployment. So a lot of big data that could really just push the market higher. And so yeah, like I said, Rivian I think is definitely worthwhile to add to your watch list. Let me know your thoughts on all that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my stacked account if you're looking for some solid on point day trades, swing trades. So definitely take a look at that. Link in the description below and also the comments. And just for this weekend only, I do have a $5 promotion. So anyone getting in, you only pay $5 for the month and it will not change. So definitely sign up while you can, this weekend only. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.